Hey y'all. And by y'all, I mean no one, because no one's watching this. I have to do this quickly. I have a Christmas party for my family that I'm getting ready to go to. And I want to try to do like a get ready with me while I talk about this dumb-ass book that I absolutely hate. And I'm going to try to fit it all in like the span of an hour, because I have to leave at 3:30 and it's currently 2, so I should be ready by 3. Okay, so let's begin, I guess. Also, like I explained before, my script is over here. My mirror is over here, so I'm going to be looking over here a lot. It's normal. If you see me doing it, no you don't. Pause. Let me introduce the book. This week's book, 1984 by George fucking Orwell. I fucking hate this book so much. It's the antithesis of my being. It is the reason why I no longer want to be on this earth. Our main character's name is Winston Smith. He's 39 years old. Our boy Winston lives in the city called London. Think our world, but post-apocalyptic. This place called Airstrip 1 in Oceania, which is the continent. There's 3 main continents: Eurasia, East Asia, and Oceania. So, like I said before, this book was written in like the late 40s, I believe. So it was right after World War II. All the buildings are run down. Now, this government in this story is very important. Everything is hanging on by a singular thread. A lot like my will to live. Inside every building run by the government and by like most people is these things called telescreens. Now, telescreens are like our Apple TVs. They have like cameras and audio. They can listen to you. They can track your movements. This is all done from the government, which is known as Big Brother. Now, Big Brother is this head figure. He's debated if he exists. But basically, he watches all. He's the government. He makes everything happen. He's like the face of the totalitarian government. This is very like North Korea-esque, but like white, you know? So again, like I said before, these telescreens allow Big Brother, which I'm going to just be calling it Big Daddy because it's funny. Big Daddy can watch whatever you are doing. They can watch it at any point. They can tap in. They're not watching you all the time, but if they're like, hey, let me check out what this person's doing, they can just do it, you know? So they check in, and it's nothing new. Again, I'm watching you, Mark Zuckerberg. Tread lightly. So because people can be watched at any given moment of time, they're paranoid, so they'll act at all the times like they're being watched. So this means they'll be controlling their facial movements. They'll be controlling what they say, how they say it, just so that nothing is given away, because there's this thing called the thought police, which controls everyone and can arrest you if you think or do anything that goes against the totalitarian government, aka Big Daddy. Our boy Winston works in the Ministry of Truth, which is also known as Mini-True in their new language called Newspeak. Newspeak is basically English, but they lowered the word count because they want people to have less words to express their thoughts, so that they don't have these thoughts that could defy the government. So unlike other buildings, the Ministry of Truth is actually well built because everything else is run down, but the government buildings are well built. So they have a cute little slogan, and that is, war is peace, freedom is slavery, and ignorance is truth. The Ministry of Truth isn't the only pyramid well-built building. There's actually 4, and these are the 4 parts of the government. They're all tall. They all like dwarf the other buildings. Basically, they look like your local short boy who acts like he's 6'5", but is actually like pushing 5'4", you know? They think they're great, but they're not. These 4 buildings are how the government is divided. So there's the Ministry of Truth, which is what Winston works for. That's Mini-True. And they do news, entertainment, education, fine arts. And there's the Ministry of Peace, which covers war. So it's like everything is the opposite of what it is. The Ministry of Love, which maintains law and order and torture and stuff. And then there's the Ministry of Plenty, which is the finance bro of the government. They deal with like economics, but everyone's poor. So make that make sense. Make that make sense, George Orwell. I know it was done meticulously, but I hate this guy. Guess what? Our boy Winston has this dirty little secret, and it's that he has a book. It's actually a diary, which is technically illegal to have, because much like Yahtzee journaling, it was illegal to have certain books. It's illegal to have it, but London in this book doesn't have any laws. Make that make sense, George Orwell. What are you talking about? The thing about the book is that it's called 1984 because Winston thinks it's 1984, but he doesn't actually know, because no one can tell what time it is because the government controls everything and they lie about everything. Winston and everyone else literally has no original thoughts, and he can't even like think of what to write in his diary. I mean, not me though, because when I was 8 years old, I was writing down. Delete! 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 I was spitting. I was cooking. I might not have been able to spell, but trust, I know what I was writing down. There was tea. So eventually Winston is able to think of something to write because he recalls an event that happened earlier that day at work. And to sum it up, while he was doing his job, he saw this pretty girl in her late 20s and was like, damn, she's fine as hell. Then he proceeded to think about how much he hates her and all the other women because they're attractive and he's not. Freaking incel weirdo. They do their jobs properly and he gets no bitches, so of course he's mad. Stay mad, Winston. She literally glances at him and that's enough to stir his heart aflutter. And it wasn't even with lust, it was with hostility. Like, hello? Winston? I heard that Timothée Chalamet likes this book, and I have thoughts. I don't care that he was in Call Me By Your Name. That is one of my favorite movies, but he is my greatest thought right now because tell me why he's liking a book about an incel. It is not looking too good for him. Freaking woman hater, what the hell? So every day there's these cheeky little rituals called 2 Minutes of Hate, where a picture of a traitor is placed on their Apple TV. The traitor of Oceania is Emmanuel Goldstein. I didn't expect to stumble upon anti-Semitism in 1984, but here we are. Everyone hates this guy. And they mentioned it's partially because of the fact that he's Jewish. Like, hello? Free my boy Emmanuel, man. Like, he did nothing wrong. All he did was advocate for the girlies and the gays. He didn't tolerate any of the obics or the isms. Like, set this man free. I see nothing wrong here. Low-key, Winston hates Big Brother, but he never actually expresses this because he'd get arrested and probably murdered. But he still has these thoughts. He clearly isn't the only one who thinks like this though, because there's also this guy named O'Brien who catches his eye occasionally and is like, I see you. I see that you're like me. Like I said before, there's the thought police, and they're like this force who track down people who communicate thoughts of doubt towards the government. To avoid getting arrested, people don't emote. Someone could tell Winston that they killed his mom and he'd be like, light work, no reaction. And he'd continue on his life as if nothing happened, like it was a regular Tuesday. So around page 22, this book starts to remind me of Yahtzee Journey because children would be turning on their parents and giving them up to a thought police, being like, my parents said that they don't like the government, and then they get arrested and like murdered or something. Honestly, all I have to say is that I'm on to you, George. Like, they call him a revolutionist, but he was just talking about World War II. This is a book about World War II. This is nothing new. It just happened for him. He lived through it. So anyways, Winston has these doubts about Big Daddy because part of his job at the Ministry of Truth is to correct all these false predictions that Big Daddy makes. So obviously he's gonna be suspicious as he has to like manually correct what Big Daddy says. Like, obviously he's gonna have doubts. So one day, Winston becomes this curious little cat and he goes to the pub. And there he meets this old man. He's in his 70s and he asks him if he prefers his life before or after Big Brother came in and took over. Now this old man has like dementia or something, so he doesn't remember. He expects the old man to be like, I liked it better before, but the old man's like, I don't know. So this causes Winston to be kind of sad because his hopes are going out the window. After he leaves the bar, he goes to this little pawn shop, and it's the same one where he bought the diary. And then he meets this old man who sells him a paperweight and shows him old furniture and stuff that he could potentially buy. And because it's a rundown part of the town, there's no telescreens and has complete privacy. So on his way home, he ends up seeing that woman that he hates. And he is a paranoid little guy, so Winston thinks that she's spying on him. And what's his first reaction, you may wonder? Well, I'm glad you asked. His first thought is to bash her head in with a rock. Like, y'all seeing this? So thankfully, old buddy old pal doesn't do that. If he did, I'd be throwing punches. Old girl out here is not defying these spy allegations. When Winston sees her again, she has a broken arm. And he's like, oh my god, what's wrong? What happened? Because she trips and falls in front of him. So after that happens, he helps her stand up. He's like, did you break your wrist again? Like, you already broke it. Like, are you alright? She's like, nah, I'm fine, dog. And then she walks away. But call her BTS because she's smooth like butter. She slips a piece of paper into Winston's hand. Guess what she wrote on this piece of paper? Take a guess. She wrote, I love you. Isn't that sweet? Gagged me. Winston's actually hilarious because tell me why after he reads the note he's filled with joyous whimsy. He's like, well shit, I guess I better not kill her. I guess I like her too, LMAO. Like, huh? So the whole passage made me laugh and giggle because I remembered it was Winston we're talking about here, and he's the same guy who was trying to murder her like not even a day ago. We don't even like know what this girl's name is, and all he wants to do is have sex with her, which pisses me off because I hate that about men. I hate Winston so much. Tread lightly, Timothée Camembert. Freaking weirdo. Why do you like this book so much, huh? So when Winston tries to get into contact with her, he has to do this tactfully because he can't be caught by the thought police. One wrong move and he's put into jail. So Winston clearly has a crush on this girl, and eventually they get into contact when he's able to sit with her at a lunch table at work. I'm gonna put a passage on the screen, or like read it. I don't know. I'm probably gonna just put a passage on the screen, maybe do like a voiceover, because it's so funny and it made me laugh so hard. He's actually relatable in this instance, and that's the only time I will like Winston. Every other time he can choke. Anyways, they end up meeting at a large square in a crowd, and they hold hands for a while she tells him where they can meet. And because our boy Winston is an incel, he's a certified incel, he has never felt the touch of a woman other than his ex-wife, feels her hand, and it's the most obscene, stirs the most visceral reaction within me. Disgusting. I hate this guy. Literally 2 weeks ago, he was gonna murder her. He even says this to her when they meet up for the first time, like, alone. There's so many things with this passage that I hate, but I'm just gonna point out a couple things. And the fact that within the span of an hour, he found out her name, which is Julia. He found out her eye color, which is brown. He made out with her, and he told her that he wanted to assault her. Wild. This book is wild. Like, this book is not real. George Orwell, like, something's going on with this man. I mean, he went through World War II. Like, he's seen some things. It's just clearly translated over to this book. Winston is an actual menace, and Julia needs to run for the hills because this girl is unsafe. I just got a text from him. He's also a damn pick-me. I hate this guy. Me just listing out the reasons why I hate Winston. He's a damn pick-me, and it's so annoying. So, did I mention he has a whole wife? I think I did. He has a wife. Winston hates her. He's a damn prick. Because he hates her because she didn't want to have sex with him because she was probably like asexual or something, and also because she was indoctrinated to believe that sex was a bad act. So basically every Christian girl. Can you blame her? Winston's a fucking pig. Like, I hate this guy so much. He's a prick. For such reasons, again, I'm giving it Timothée Chalkboard, the most criminal offensive side-eye that he's ever witnessed, that he's ever received. Because, girl, get back in the basement. What is going on here? That is a very niche meme that I think only a select people will understand. So Winston and Julia, they get to know each other, and we come to know that she hates the party too. Julia, also, by the way, Julia's misogynistic, which makes me dislike her too. They're in croak with Winston because fuck that. Also, by the way, they're both murderous sociopaths, freaking weirdos. Tell me why Winston tells Julia a story about his wife, and the first thing she asks him is why he didn't push her off a cliff. Like, sorry? Hello? And he's like, oh, I would if I'm the same person I am now than I was before, but you know, things are different. You wouldn't understand, you know, shit happens. Like,
what was that? Okay.
It happened. I haven't read a book of my own accord of adult fiction written by a man that describes women like this since Stephen King's It. Fuck Stephen King, by the way. This guy's definitely a weirdo. Let me just show you the passage. George, I'm coming for you. So if you remember from earlier, O'Brien is this person who Winston exchanges eye contact with, and that's how they know that they're like both against the government, and they're both trying to work together. So eventually, O'Brien ends up inviting Winston over to his house, and now because O'Brien is a higher up in the government, he has an Apple TV, but he can turn off his Apple TV so he won't be watched. This allows them to have a conversation in private. He initiates Winston and Julia into this resistance of the government called the Brotherhood, and it's confirmed that their leader is Emmanuel Goldstein, who is the Jewish guy that everyone hates. Winston gets a book, and I kid you not, there is about 100 pages in George Orwell's 1984 dedicated to Winston reading the pages that Emmanuel wrote. And it's all about like anti-capitalism and like resistance and people and human behavior and stuff. He reads all these pages to Julia in the room, and I have to read him reading the pages. And it's the room above the pawn shop that they rent, where Winston got his book and the paperweight. So he talks about these government systems and freedoms, and I can tell this book was not written for me. I know I was not the select demographic. I am fully aware of that. But I still don't like Timothy Credit Card because what the hell? This book is awful. It is god awful. You cannot force me to read this again if you tried. Batman could not even get me to do this. So eventually, Winston stops reading this book to Julia while they talk, and he can hear a voice coming out of this picture in their room. He's like, well, what the hell? What's going on here? Why can't I hear a voice? It doesn't take long for them to figure out that the voice is coming from behind the picture, and it's a telescreen. So there was a telescreen hidden in this house the whole time, and they didn't know. It doesn't take long before a swarm of like FBI agents come and drag Julia away, and then they drag Winston away too. The old man that rents out the flat to Winston and Julia actually sold them out to the thought police. Not only that, but he was part of the thought police too, so he was like paying attention to them. He was like, ooh, I see you, I know what you're doing, I'm gonna arrest you. And he does. He gets arrested. He gets thrown into the clink. Immediately this MILF falls in love with him. I have no idea how Winston keeps getting so many bitches. It's beyond me. And this is where Winston enters his like Archie Andrews, like Riverdale's version, jail. This is where he reaches his, that means you haven't known the triumphs and defeats, the epic highs and lows of high school football. That's his era that he's in right now. He ends up getting tortured by O'Brien, of all people, in jail, because he wants him to confess his crimes and break him down, like his sanity, I guess. You know, that's just average comrade activities, you know, that's what the bros do for fun. Tell him that they want him to become sane and rehabilitate him. So if you're counting, this is the second time that Winston has been betrayed by a friend. That's rough. Trust no one. So Winston starts to believe that he's insane, and honestly, he is. He also believes that he's intellectually inferior to O'Brien because O'Brien keeps outsmarting him and being like, I knew you were going to say that, but here's why you shouldn't believe that. O'Brien keeps gaslighting him into thinking everything that he knows is untrue. And at this point, I'm like, let me wrap up this book, man. Like, I'm tired. This is a lot. He gets tortured a bunch, and then he starts to get indoctrinated into believing everything that Big Brother says is true. He reteaches himself basic concepts through the lens of Big Brother, so everything he knows is wrong. He begins to accept that Big Brother is like the all-knowing, all-true being, and he basically just lets things happen, and he just goes along with everything, you know? Because he just wants to stay alive. So eventually, our boy Winston gets released from prison. I'm gonna try using this. I bought it. Cool. He meets Julia by chance. It's really awkward and uncomfortable. They're like, okay, I'll see you again, maybe, and then they just never see each other again, because why would they? It's not the same anymore because of their drama, because they were like tortured into like selling each other out. Okay, my thoughts. I didn't put my eyeliner on the way I usually do, which probably is making me not like it that much, but it's like a good product, I guess, so I'll keep using it. I'd keep using it even if it was awful because I bought it and we're just gonna waste it. But the book ends where Winston is seated at a cafe and he's like drinking gin to cope with drama, and through the telescreen that's next to him he can hear that Oceania won the battle against Eurasia. And for the first time, Winston is actually happy about this news and happy about war. This is when we can tell that Winston took the big step into accepting Big Brother. He actually feels love towards Big Brother. And that's basically it. The whole book is about him being indoctrinated into believing that Big Brother is like this all good being. Anyways, yeah, that's basically how it ends. Do I love the book? Absolutely not. Do I despise the book? Absolutely. I hate this book with a burning passion. I kind of went in knowing that I wouldn't like it because I heard quite a few things about it. My dad loves the book. Obviously, he thinks it's weird, but again, Timothée Chalamet, I'm watching you. I don't hate Timothy, but he has questionable reading taste. Timothy just seems like a frat boy. I think I heard like a YouTuber say that, and I completely agree. He's like a frat boy that just wants to have a good time and supports homosexuality and peaches and reading about war. For my final thoughts and rating, I will say that George could have made this book a lot longer than it actually was, so I appreciated that he kept it short and sweet. Aside from those 100 pages that were just Winston reading the book inside the book, like hello, what was that for? I guess it was just giving us context. I would rate it 1 star, but I feel like George at least deserves a good 2 stars. 2.5 maybe, but that's pushing it. The characters were annoying. Every single character I hated, and I'm a character girly pop. I love good characters, so when each character sucks, just at their fundamental base, I hate stories that are like that. Again, like Stephen King's It. Stephen King, I'm coming for you. Watch your back. I would say the same thing to George, but he's dead. The plot was uninteresting. it was nice because I read this in like 5 days. It was a pretty quick read. But the thing is, I understand the book. Like, I know I've been talking a lot about how I hate Winston because he's a perv and a weirdo, but like, this is a very interesting book. You know, the predictions that George made about, you know, the Apple TV, telescreens, and totalitarian governments and such, like, he was right. He was cooking with that. And these themes of, like, indoctrination and freedom and free will, they're very interesting themes that he explored. However, I feel like the execution was awful and really uninteresting. It's a very pretentious book. Anyways, those are my thoughts. Let me show you my outfit. This is the cute little sweater I bought this week that I'm gonna wear for my little Christmas party. It's very cute, very croquette girly. Oh my god, look at my hair. I don't know if you could see it, but I had a little bow in there. I'm very excited about this outfit. I'm excited to slay the floor and look better than everyone else there. I'm kidding, but am I? I don't know. Thank you for listening or watching me complain about George Orwell and Timothée Chalamet. I don't hate any of the people that I talked about hating. Thank you, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.
Flawless, flawless, baby, what you call us? If the shit don't involve money, I'm off it. I can be your role model. Jimi Hendrix, Papa Pill with me. Before we end